My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot. I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero. I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
It's time now for the Conservative Curmudgeon radio show. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening. It is great to be back with you. It's Wednesday night on KLRN Radio, and I hope you're holdover from, was it Rick and Stacy, or was it just Rick?
No, whatever with Rick and Stacy.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I was having dinner.
I know, you never make it in for the early show.
God, people with these damn jobs, and I don't know. Anyway, it is great to be back.
Last week on your phone while you were eating, you slacker bastard.
Yeah. if it's any consolation, I just had a sandwich.
So you only had a sandwich and you still couldn't come listen?
I mean,
you're not helping.
I had a Black Forest ham, Cajun turkey, bacon, lettuce, tomato, mustard sandwich with Gouda and sharp cheddar on it, and I baked it.
That's not a sandwich. That's
a
masterpiece. Yeah. That is not a sandwich. That is a masterpiece, sir.
Anyway, sorry about last week. We had that annoying little hurricane that passed just west of here, and we had to get a job site battened down, and then we had to get home and get our homes battened down because we were told we were going to catch the brunt of the east side. For those of you not familiar with hurricanes, the east side of the storm is always the worst side of the storm. And this storm made landfall in Louisiana, which put the Mississippi and Alabama Gulf Coast and even the Florida Gulf Coast into play on that east side of the storm. I was very lucky, actually. It seemed like as it made its landfall, the worst of the weather on the east side went to the east of me, and the worst of the eye wall type stuff stayed west of me. And I just nestled into a little pocket, and we had some wind and rain, but all in all, it was just like a 9 hour summer thunderstorm. So not bad, not bad. Got away with one there. You know, the tropics have been good this year. I'm not complaining. So anyway, we're back. We're doing the show. There's things to talk about. I don't know what you're talking about with who you talk about things, but there's been a lot of hubbub the last couple of days about Republicans blocking bills to protect in vitro fertilization. The problem with this is that the media is such the fourth arm of the government, and when I say that, I mean for the Democrats. They are definitely the propaganda arm, because even though the Republicans did vote against this bill, they proposed a different bill to protect in vitro fertilization, and the Democrats blocked it. So Senate Democrats shot down a Republican-led bill from Senators Ted Cruz of Texas and Katie Britt of Alabama to protect access to IVF. Cruz sought unanimous consent to approve the measure in a bid to blunt Democratic-led legislation on the medical procedure that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will hold a recorded vote for on Thursday. He will not hold a vote for the Republican bill, so you'll never hear about it in the media because they're not going to give the Republicans that carrot. Democrats' proposal, which will require 60 votes to overcome a GOP filibuster, is also expected to fail, even though two Republicans are known to going to be jumping ship to sit with the Democrats, and that would be Susan Collins from Maine and Lisa Murkowski. I forget what Murkowski's from. It's either like Missouri or Alaska, some crap like that. I don't know. Anyway, these two, they need to both be gone. They've been there too long, for one. And to call them Republicans is just a damn joke. They might as well be on one of those Zoom calls, for Republicans for Harris. Yeah. So, they're not Republicans at all. They're just idiots. But here nor there. So the Republicans will bear 99.8% of the negative press over this, even though both parties have blocked the other's bills to protect in vitro fertilization. Cruz said that we are the ones that want to protect IVF. Understand, we could have passed strong federal legislation today, but Senate Democrats don't want a protection of IVF. They want a campaign issue. The GOP bill, dubbed the IVF Protection Act, is more narrowly tailored than that of the Democrats over religious liberty concerns. It would strip states of Medicaid funding if they prohibit IVF, a move that gives states broad discretion and does not bar them from passing restrictions on the fertility procedure, but you do so at your own peril. The Democratic bill would enshrine a right to IVF into federal law, but would not force providers to offer services over religious concerns. It would also shield providers from legal liability. Boy, just stop right there. I mean, I understand that there is a risk with any procedure, and that includes something as delicate as IVF. But you can't offer legal liability or shield them from legal liability. Uh, what if there's malfeasance or malpractice or even a quote unquote honest mistake can have irrevocable harm. Um, I that'd be a sticking point for me right there. Um, Safeguard access for service members and veterans, and require health insurance for federal employees to help pay for the procedure, which can cost up to tens of thousands of dollars. So, first of all, not that it's any of the government's damn business. I don't want the government involved in IVF in any way. Um, but you have to break down both sides of this and look at it. Senate Appropriations Committee Chairman Patty Murray, co author of the Democrats' bill, blocked Cruz's bid to pass his bill. She said it's just a PR tool, plain and simple. Just another way for Republicans to pretend they're not the extremists that they keep proving they are. And then they turn around and block the bill that protects IVF. See, here's the thing. The Democrats, they don't understand the 10th Amendment. This is not a power enumerated to Congress. It just simply isn't. You can color it any way you want to. You can't make this fit into a power enumerated to Congress. The Democrats' focus on IVF comes amid the second anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and in the wake of the Alabama Supreme Court's February ruling that frozen embryos should be considered children. The decision forced state lawmakers to pass temporary legal protections for IVF providers. Those, at the time, they were very temporary, and that has been fixed permanently. State resident here, I can speak to that. But the move also comes amid a concerted effort by Senate Democrats to prioritize an election year agenda on hot button issues, including killing babies up to the moment of birth, denying them care should they survive an attempted abortion, immigration, and that they feel will hurt Republican chances with voters at the ballot box. And in some of these cases, they're right. In some of these cases, they're wrong. Democrats also argued that the wording of the Republican proposal may actually entice states opposed to Medicaid funding to pass laws restricting IVF. Well, if they do that, that's like crapping all over everybody in your state that uses Medicaid. And if you think that won't come around at the ballot box the next time around, just wait till the first state were to try it. Can you imagine? A state willfully cutting off Medicaid funding to itself. Yeah. Um, the Democrats say that the states most likely to ban IVF are the same states that refuse to expand Medicaid. Uh, you know, it's a backdoor way to allow states to actually end Medicaid in the states. Well, if you don't have a plan for everybody that's on Medicaid, like I said, you won't be in office very long, and your replacement's going to get it all restored. And that's how it is. Um, Again, 10th Amendment, powers enumerated to Congress by the Constitution. This this is even more bullshit than Obamacare. They they eked that in under the Interstate Commerce Clause. Bullshit. It was not interstate commerce, and it has absolutely wrecked healthcare. I saw some doctor online the other day talking about, oh, you just don't know, or you don't remember how horrible it was before Obamacare. Well, guess how horrible it is now too. You know, people are getting, they go to get insurance, and they find out that it's going to cost them $450 a month, and then they have to cover the first $12,000 a year out of pocket before the insurance kicks in. What the hell? And you're out there going, well, that's just not true. Actually, that is true. And people were actually posting their premiums online and not just typing it. They were taking pictures of it and posting it online. It's damn true. Government needs to stick to what government needs to stick to, which should be small enough to drown in a bathtub, and leave the rest to us. Get the hell out of our way. Leave us the hell alone. That's just my thoughts on it. You do your own homework and come up with your own thoughts. But, I had somebody tell me earlier online when I was posting about it that I was full of crap. And I said, really? Why don't you tell me where? And they refused to engage. So, right away, they got nothing. Nothing. And it just, it's just how it is. And hey, look, I see the chat room's full. I see Danielle, I see Raptor, I see Andrew, I see Aggie, I see Eric. Oh, so many of
I
you
see
guys.
London. I see France. I see
Yes,
Gene as
Jeff's
well.
there, Calvin's there, Rick's there. Hey, everybody, come on in. Water's good. Anyway, moving along. Moving along. In a long list of no-nos in federal agencies endorsing political candidates, the Federal Reserve has announced its first interest rate cut in 4 years today.
And it was a doozy.
Yeah, it was a full half point, which, I mean, this was their last meeting before the election. So if they were going to help Kamala, this was their chance to do it. And boy, did they. The rumblings were that some Democrats were even pushing behind the scenes for 3/4 of a point. But they got a half point, and that it's going to bode well for Kamala. That's the way it is. They're not coming out and saying they endorse her, but this is their way of endorsing her. So it's a very consequential decision for them, especially in recent memory. I can guarantee you that President Trump's not going to like it, and Kamala Harris is going to love it. Interest rates can become a hot button issue around elections, considering lower rates are much more popular policy as they boost personal finances with cheaper mortgages and lower interest with student loans and small business loans, et cetera, et cetera. The notion of independence for the U.S. central bank from other government branches has not stopped politicians from voicing their opinion on what the Fed should do, particularly on interest rates. This summer, Trump suggested the Fed could make a politically motivated decision if it lowers rates before November's election, saying that such a move from the Fed is something that they know they shouldn't be doing, though the move from the central bank comes as economic data signals a cut is due. Now, see, I read that. They say that a cut is due based on economic data. But what data are we looking at? Unemployment is back on the rise. Wages are stagnant again. Inflation's still up. What's really changed that's made them think that this was the time? This is how you know it's politically motivated. Now, I'm not one to whine because low rates are a good thing anytime. But when you use them as a political cudgel to basically endorse a candidate less than 2 months before an election, that's pretty shitty for an organization that's supposed to be independent of government. Um, Trump promised in July that there'll be a lot of cutting from the Fed should he take office. And though Harris has not made a similar proclamation, some of her closest associates have been calling for cuts. Um, President Joe Biden said in March, I bet rates were going to come down. Elizabeth Warren and Sheldon Whitehouse called on Fed Chairman Jerome Powell to slash rates by 0.75% on Monday in a formal letter. Boom, there you go. Though Harris has stayed mum on the subject, well, yeah, I'd stay mum on the subject too if I knew they were going to cut rates right before the election, because I'd be using that as, see, our policies are working. Interest rates are coming down. She's not as dumb as she sounds most of the time. Sometimes she is. Make no mistakes. You know, they've run a campaign by keeping their mouths shut, and I expect that to continue for the most part. Um, it definitely, I mean, even Moody Analytics said it puts a tailwind behind the Harris campaign for sure. Harris and Trump have sparred over the Fed before. Trump made waves in August when he said the president should have a say in Fed decision making, saying he specifically is qualified because he's made a lot of money and has better instinct than people that would be on the Federal Reserve or the chairman. He did walk that back later and said that, you know, the staff doesn't have to listen to him, but they should. Look, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. We're just going to keep on with the story. Sorry, I don't want to. I don't want to go off on a tangent here. The U.S. central bank's most important function is arguably determining the federal funds rate, the interest charged for capital reserve transactions between financial institutions, set by a panel of Fed officials known as the Federal Open Market Committee. The federal funds rate is often broadly just referred to as interest rates, considering its outsized influence on most U.S. borrowing from corporate bonds to new car loans. The bank historically runs independently from the rest of the federal government, independently, guided by a dual mandate to minimize inflation and maximize employment. See, so here's the thing. Inflation's still strong. Unemployment is back on the rise. Why are they cutting rates? They're going against their own charter. The Fed typically raises rates when inflation gets too high, like it did in 2022 and 2023, and it lowers the rates when there's a threat of serious economic downturn, like it did in 2020 and today. Other than conducting its monetary policy objectives, the Fed also regulates commercial banks and controls how much money is in circulation. Really? Because the executive branch just seems to print that shit off and spend it like it's nothing. Little to none in theory, given the Fed's pride in independent decision making. However, the president appoints and the Senate confirms the Fed's 7 board of governors who have permanent seats on the 12-person Federal Open Markets Committee. So see, the Supreme Court is not the only lifetime appointment that doesn't get voted on in the government. even though this is supposed to be independent of government. Whatever. It's all bullshit. Nobody should be anywhere forever. Term limits for every one of them. Trump tapped Powell to be the top central banker. It's a job he's held since 2018. The Fed's rate-setting committee lowered the federal funds rate Wednesday from 5.25 to 5.5, down to 4.75 to 5. 50 basis point reduction that sat on the high end of consensus estimates. The consensus was usually split on what the Fed would do, with the market implied probabilities of the Fed decision. The least settled Bank of America research began tracking the metric. Derivative trades monitored by CME Group priced in roughly 60% chance of a 50 basis point cut announcement Wednesday and 35% odds for a 25 basis point move. The 75 basis points suggested by Warren did not have legs of any kind. However, the market implied odds of at least a 0.25% cut were firmly at 100%, which I don't understand, again, because nothing in their charter agrees with that. Again, not all Republicans agree with Trump's opposition to a rate cut. And like I said, I don't have a problem with low rates, but to do it on your last opportunity before the election, it's a real shitty move. You could have done a 0.25 point at your last meeting, and it would have been a good start, and you could have done more after the election. But hey, here we are. Here we are. It was time for a cut. I mean, it's always been time for a cut because inflation is always created by the government to begin with. They're the only people that control the money. You keep pouring money into the economy, there's going to be inflation. So, I don't know. Read into it what you will. I know what I see. Hey, we're at the bottom of the hour. We need to take a little commercial break. It's time to stretch the legs, refresh the drinks. Rick's going to push a button and let you hear some cool music on the way out and some great ads in the middle and then some cool music on the way back in. So we'll see you in about 4 minutes.
What you doing? I've been jumping through some hoops. Wanna get my body loose. Wanna tell you what to do. I've been running out of bounds like an animal struggling, looking for a diamond.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
I'm Noble McIntyre of McIntyre Law, and I've been representing injured Oklahomans and their families for almost 30 years. At our firm, we've handled hundreds of crashes involving semis. They are huge vehicles and when fully loaded can weigh as much as 80,000 pounds. Most semi drivers are careful and professional drivers, but some big truck drivers and the companies they drive for are dangerous, and I've personally seen the devastating effects on families. If you or a loved one has been affected by a semi crash, contact us at 405-777-7000 or McIntyreLaw.com. We will fight for you.
Achieve platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program at Shell and save 10 cents per gallon on every fill. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
It's back to school season for the kiddos, which means it's the perfect time to get your vacay on. Beaches are empty, resorts are quiet, and Cheap Caribbean Vacations has fall vacay deals up to, wait for it, 45% off.
Plus, you can score more site-wide savings and take an extra $50 off your booking now through September 5th. Take this as your sign to pencil in a vacay this fall and turn back to school season into back to beach season.
Go to cheapcaribbean.com to find your next all-inclusive vacay. Offer ends September 5th.
You can achieve platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program at Shell twice as fast by filling up 6 times with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about platinum status and the Fuel Rewards program, or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Get to Kohl's and take an extra 25% off Adidas for the entire family. Plus, with an extra 15% off, get up to 50% off the Big One bedding. And save on Nike athletic shoes for kids. Plus, get Kohl's Cash. Plus, limited contact store drive up. Right now at Kohl's and Kohl's.com.
Offers valid July 17th through July 26th. 15% offer with promo code BIG SAVINGS. 25% off Adidas. Offers and coupons do not apply. Select styles. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Today, this breakfast isn't just breakfast. It might be the first McDonald's breakfast you're having at McDonald's again. This lunch might be a weekly tradition you hadn't had in weeks. And this dinner might be the first one you bought for not just you in a while. Whatever this order is for you, McDonald's will be here to take it.
Get more of the chicken you love with a delicious McChicken sandwich for $1. And for an extra buck, add a refreshing Dr. Pepper. Dining rooms are starting to reopen in certain communities at participating McDonald's. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, welcome back. Hey, I have no idea what rotating night it is, Rick, so can you do a quick programming thing for the rest of the night?
Behind Enemy Lines Radio is after you. Will be simulcasting from Gene's YouTube, and then Ordy and I will be starting at approximately 10:15 Eastern because he's late again.
He's late again. And Gene comes on behind me on alternating Wednesdays?
Well, actually, for now, it may wind up being Gene, and then there's a new show that's launching. Fubar's gone on hiatus, and I don't know when it's coming back.
Well, glad Gene's in the saddle. Always fun to hear him, I know. So anyway, that's what you got left for tonight. And this is what I tell you every time I'm on. Stay with us all night because this is where the good stuff is. It's going to happen. And I'm really apologizing for my voice right now. I'm very stuffy. I didn't want to run and use my allergy spray because that makes me sneeze, and I didn't want to be sneezing into the microphone that you're listening to on the other end.
It has mute, sir.
Yeah, I understand it has mute, but then I have to turn my notes down and minimize that screen, and then bring the other screen up and hit the mute button before I sneeze. It's just an ugly scene, and it's not worth it.
Well played, sir. Well played.
It's just not. So anyway, I saw this interesting article, and I read it, and I said to myself, some of this stuff is BS.
Oh, you didn't do it right.
What's
you're
that?
supposed to say, and I said to myself, some of this doesn't look
because
right.
that's what I call myself. So I said, self. Yes, I remember the Howie Mandel routine.
Actually, believe it or not, Howie Mandel did not do it first. Do you know who did?
No, I don't.
James Earl Jones. May he rest in peace.
Look at there, Big Daddy. Big Daddy. I hated that he passed. I mean, I know he lived a long, full life. Uh, he enriched so many people. So I'm sure he was also enriched by people. A true legend. You know that word gets thrown around a lot, but he was a freaking legend, and he will continue to be a legend. So yeah, yeah, absolutely. Love some James Earl Jones. Um, the night after he passed, I watched Sneakers again. I love that movie. It is so good. We are the United States government. We don't do that sort of thing.
if he only knew.
Yeah. Oh, it was good. It was good. Love that movie. Love that guy. He's a great actor. Anyway, so this article was basically comparing, um, major aspects of, I guess, the economy, we'll say, between the Trump administration and the Biden-Harris administration. And if people, yeah, I've had some people kind of question why I call it the Biden-Harris administration instead of the Biden administration, and that's because that's what they insisted on. So they insisted on it early on, and now she tries everything in her power to distance herself from it. And I refuse to allow it to happen. She owns the crap as much as he does. So anyway, and as a matter of fact, when they were talking about it being a joint administration, the reporter that asked Biden what he would do if they disagreed, Biden said, "I'll retire and hand her the whole thing." So that's how big of a deal she was in this administration currently. She can do whatever she wants, pretty much, and just refuses to. Oh, but she'll fix it if you elect her. Don't worry. But anyway, this article was done by Forbes, which, if you're talking finances, they're a great source. They know their crap. So let's take a quick look at this stuff, and we'll start with GDP, the gross domestic product. The country's economic output grew strongly under both Biden and Trump, with real gross domestic product, which tracks the inflation adjusted value of all goods and services produced by the United States, expanding at an annualized rate of 2.7 during Trump's first 3 years and 3.5 during Biden's. The Trump economy's annualized growth rate of 1.4% over his full term is weaker, but that does include the economic crushing of 2020's COVID-19 shock. While Biden's growth is concentrated in 2021, his annualized over the term so far comes to 1.9. So, I mean, there is a difference. It's not a huge difference, but there is a difference. Stock market. Stocks performed better under Trump, though both presidencies coincided with stronger than average gains. The S&P 500 index has posted an annualized return of 11.8% since Biden took office, compared to 16.3 under Trump. And there most certainly hasn't been the stock market crash under Biden that happened with COVID. So, inflation, this is a biggie. Inflation has been far worse during the Biden administration, up 19% over the first 42 months of Biden's term, compared to 6% during Trump's first 42 months. According to the government's Consumer Price Index, year over year inflation peaked under Biden at a 4-decade high of 9% in 2022, which Biden has blamed on COVID's lingering impact and the Russia-Ukraine war. So here's the deal, President Biden, you don't have to keep printing money. You don't. It's possible for you to say no. Anyway, job market. Both Biden and Trump oversaw strong labor markets. Since Biden took office, overall unemployment is up 11%. Now, he also oversaw people going back to work after COVID. They say average pay is up 18%. I don't know where the hell that is, but it's not here. I can tell you that. Unemployment is down from 6.7% to 4.2%. It was a particular sign of strength that job growth and sub 4% unemployment have coincided with interest rate increases and a subsiding in inflation, both of which typically hurt the labor market, though the U.S. employment picture has shown some pretty serious cracks in recent months. Perhaps Trump's most impressive labor market feats were unemployment declining from 4.7% to as low as 3.5%, which was the lowest level since 1969, and wages growing by an inflation beating. Excuse me. Wow. Maybe I do need my medicine. Inflation beating 15% over his 4-year term. And again, where these wage increases are coming from, I really have no idea, because that shit is not materializing here. The COVID job asterisk. Much of the Biden labor market gains, again, part of the post-pandemic recovery, and it says as much. Forbes is calling it right down the middle here. They're giving Trump credit where it's due. They're giving Biden credit where it's due, but they're also calling these guys out on their BS. So Biden has largely focused on the COVID skewed data points, and Trump's labor market performance depends strictly on the cutoff date, as the COVID-19 disruption undid much of the nominal progress, sending unemployment briefly to an all-time high of 14.9% in April of 20, and causing the overall workforce to actually shrink from December 16 through 20. So, they both bear good and bad. Consumer health. Sentiment was lower last month than it ever was under Trump, according to the University of Michigan's widely tracked survey. As Americans continue to feel the aftershocks of inflation despite strong headline economic growth numbers and a record stock market, July's 2.9% personal savings rate, which measures the percentage of Americans' income left over after expenses and taxes, was less than half of April 2019's 6.8%. The savings rate never fell below 5% under Trump. And there you have that. You were keeping more of your money. That's what that boils down to. That's consumer health. And I'm all about keeping more of my money. Gas prices. We don't even have to go there, do we? I mean, really. Come on. It's not even close. Federal debt. The federal government's national debt of $35.3 trillion is more than 25% higher than the day Biden took office. After rising 39% during Trump's presidency. Again, factor in the COVID, and up 19.95 trillion from January 17, with the U.S. running a total deficit of 5.85 trillion from its 21 to 23 fiscal years, compared to 2.43 trillion from 17 to 19, and a record 3.3 trillion in 2020 alone. The economy is the top issue named by voters ahead of the polls. Research also indicates Americans had more belief in Trump than his Democratic counterparts to oversee the economy, with Biden earning the lowest confidence to do the right thing for the economy of any president since George W. Bush in 2008 amid the Great Recession. According to a Gallup survey, recent surveys from the Financial Times and CNBC found a noticeably higher proportion of Americans believe they'll be better off financially under Trump than they would be under Harris. The shaky trust comes even as the Biden administration has touted the achievements under its presidency, such as quote unquote all-time high stock prices, GDP growth, and the success of policies like the CHIPS Act. Trump and his allies have dismissed the Biden-era job gains as being virtually 100% the result of illegal immigration, which that's bullshit, and I'm glad Forbes said as much. But not that it should be completely dismissed for its merit. The American-born workforce has grown less than 2% under Biden, compared to 16% growth for the foreign-born American workforce, many of whom immigrated into the United States. Now, misinformation has also made its way into inflation discussions. Trump incorrectly claims that the past few years posed the worst inflation the U.S. has ever dealt with, and total inflation runs at almost 50% under Biden. Now, we know that's not true. It's not that high. It is higher than what they're letting us know. Don't ever think that. They're all lying to us. Biden, under Biden, both of which are not true. The Biden camp has also mischaracterized inflation, as Biden asserted he came into office with a 9.1% inflation rate, where the annual CPI inflation was actually at 1.4% in January 21 when he took office. So both guys blowing it way out of proportion. And, you know, that's what politicians do. Voters usually punish presidents when the economy is poor and reward presidents when the economy is strong. But since we won't be punishing a sitting president this time, hopefully we'll be punishing a sitting vice president. But, no matter who sits in the Oval Office, their actual power over economic conditions is somewhat limited. The pandemic era recession and post-pandemic inflation binge were both worldwide phenomena. And while both Biden and Trump have touted lower gas prices at various points, the price often has more to do with supply and demand than government policy. However, and I'll add this since Forbes did, when you have a drill baby drill policy versus a let's shut leases down policy, the odds of having lower gas are going to fall to the drill baby drill. Most importantly, the real kingpin of economic growth and inflation arguably isn't the president, it's the Federal Reserve chair. All the more reason we should end the Fed. Right? Right. Okay, we're going to have to skip a story because it is getting close to the top of the hour, so we need to move on to G's guaranteed happy ending. And we used to have a button for that, but I don't know. What the hell?
We've never had a button for that I know of. We were going to make you one.
We had a giggity, giggity, giggity that you used to do.
Well, I missed that one. Here.
Stick around.
There, that better?
All right. So anyway,
Divas.
this one kind of hit close to home. It's not your typical happy news story, but for me, it was a happy story for me. And it's a happy story for a lot of people that are living there. The lower Ninth Ward of New Orleans. It is, you hear about New Orleans, being in a bowl below sea level, all that shit like that. The lower Ninth Ward is actually sea level. A lot of their roads actually, as the tides change, will cover and uncover with water. So this is like when you see a close-up map of Louisiana and you kind of go like southeast of New Orleans, southeast of New Orleans, and you see like what looks like little fingers sticking off the coast. Yeah, this is that swampy ass, sandy, dirty, filthy, very poor area. The lower Ninth Ward has recently witnessed an incredible eco-renaissance following decades of damage and neglect. Led by a local community development group, a 40-acre wetlands park has been restored to past glories with hundreds of local trees that attract hundreds of species of birds, joggers, picnickers, and nature lovers all alike. The story begins with Rashida Ferdinand of Sankofa Community Development Corporation. Growing up in this historic part of New Orleans where Black home ownership thrived, where Fats Domino was born, and where locals routinely went out into the wetlands to catch fish and crustaceans, she watched it suffer from years of neglect, poor drainage, ruined roads, illegal trash dumping, unmitigated damage from hurricanes slowly wasted the wetland away until it was a derelict eyesore. And believe me, after Katrina, the Ninth Ward, I was surprised that anybody even tried to go back in. In the name of restoring this wild heritage indicative of the culture of the lower Ninth, and in order to protect her communities from flooding, Ferdinand founded the Sankofa CDC, and in 2014 entered into an agreement with the city of New Orleans for the restoration of Sankofa, a 40-acre section of neglected wetlands in the heart of the lower Ninth. The loss of Sankofa's potential to dampen flooding from storms meant that over the years, dozens of houses and properties were flooded, damaged beyond the ability of the inhabitants to recover. Forced out by a combination of nature's fury and government failure. All right, maybe a limited government failure. The cultural heritage of the community was receding along with the floodwaters. Ferdinand knew that restoring natural flood barriers like Sankofa was key to protecting the community. Hurricane protection is a major concern here, but there's a lack of trust in the infrastructure systems that are supposed to protect us, she said. Today, Sankofa Wetlands Park is a sight to behold. After all the work, hiking trails snake through the smattering of ponds and creeks. Bald cypresses, water tupelo trees continue growing and cling to the ground even during storms. Picnic benches are popping up. Wheelchair accessible trails connect sections of the park to parts of the lower Ninth, and local businesses are seeing more visitors. Visiting birders are recording sightings of species not seen in the area in decades. Near water waders of all kinds, egrets, herons, and the park also acts as home and refuge for otters, beavers, and a variety of amphibians and reptiles. It needed a lot of work. Thousands of invasive tallow trees had to be uprooted. 27,000 cubic meters of illegally dumped trash compacted into the dirt had to be removed. A 60-year-old canal dug by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers had to be disconnected, and all new native flora had to be planted by hand. The Audubon Society says that Ferdinand routinely can't believe her eyes when she looks at the transformation of Sankofa into its current state. Seeing butterflies, birds, and all the other pollinators in the park, a sign of a healthy ecosystem, and all we had to do was get in here and do it. Slated for official completion in 2025 with an outdoor amphitheater, interpretive signage, and additional trails, Ferdinand and the CDC have their eyes set on an even larger area of Sankofa. Along the way, Ferdinand and CDC attracted many helping hands and entered into many partnerships, but the catalyst for change arose from the spirit and determination of one woman in the right place at the right time for the benefits of hundreds in this historic heart of a historic city. That, my friends, is the news you need. That's the show. If you like it, tell your friends. If your friends like it, you need new ones. But they and you are welcome here with me every Wednesday on KLRN Radio for the Conservative Curmudgeon Show. I'm your host, The Grouch. Peace.
One, two, what you doing? I've been jumping through some hoops. Wanna get my body loose. Wanna tell you what to do. I've been running out of bounds like an animal struggling. Looking for a diamond. I'm trying, I'm fighting, riding in the rhythm now. I just wanna stay on.
I hate this place. Nothing works here. The medications don't work. I've been here for 7 years.
All the times that we messed up. Here's to you. Feel the grass. 'Cause the last few nights have kicked my ass. If they give you hell, tell them go fuck themselves. 'Cause here's to us. 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 Here's to love. Here's to everybody well. Here's to us. Here's to love. Here's to us. Here's to us.